All right, let's dive right into this explainer. We're tracking a massive, frankly foundational earthquake hitting the tech sector right now. I'm talking about the sudden, irreversible collapse of big tech's neutral platform defense. For decades, these tech giants built absolute empires on the legal claim that they were just neutral pipes, just search engines and indexes pointing to other people's stuff. Well, that era is over. Because of this massive shift, we're going to explore the urgent need for venture capital to rethink its entire architecture and fundamentally change how it funds the future. Here is our roadmap for today. We're hitting the end of neutrality, the Munich and Penske conflicts, the publisher's clearinghouse model, why the casino VC fails, the sovereign publisher pivot, and wrapping up with securing creator sovereignty. Let's get to it.
Section 1. The end of neutrality. The machine speaks the truth.
Sometimes the most profound changes pop up in the most unexpected places, like literally in an error log. Consider this real error message from Google's Vertex AI. Publisher model not found. It's kind of wild, right? The machine itself is spelling out the truth. In the AI world, those neural network weights, they're completely useless without a publisher to host, meter, and actually license them. Vertex AI is basically acting as a clearinghouse for different publishers. So the code is openly admitting what the lawyers have been desperately trying to deny. AI absolutely requires a publisher. That whole era of the neutral tech platform, it's officially dead. And the transition here is just night and day. Think about the old era. Tech companies were safely indexing the web. They were just pointing to existing information, which kept them completely immune from liability. They were just the messengers. But now, in this new era of generative AI, they're not just pointing, they're synthesizing, generating, and creating entirely independent outputs from scratch. You simply cannot claim to be a neutral pipe when your system is generating brand new substantive statements. It completely flips the legal game on its head. Moving to Section 2, Munich and Penske conflicts, the legal reality of AI. So let's look at how the dominoes are falling, and they are falling fast. Back in 2025, we had the Penske media conflict. Publishers basically took Google to task, arguing that AI real-time summaries turned the search engine into a competing, parasitic publishing service that was just actively cannibalizing their original content. And that intense pressure? It led directly into the absolutely devastating June 2026 Munich injunction. Now, why does this Munich ruling matter so much? Because a German court actually looked at the tech giants and legally labeled them as competing publishers. They explicitly ruled that AI generates independent, new, and substantive statements. Boom. Just like that, they stripped Google of its traditional search intermediary protections. This established direct liability as a publisher for the outputs of models like Gemini. Literally, their foundational legal defense was wiped out in a single courtroom. And honestly, to make matters worse, these tech companies kind of walked right into a massive legal trap of their own making. See, to protect their AI models' fine-tuning and safety filters from heavy regulation, they started claiming editorial discretion under the First Amendment. But wait a minute, think about that paradox. The second you claim editorial discretion, you are legally self-identifying as an editor. And if you're an editor, guess what? You're a publisher. They completely cornered themselves. All right, Section 3. Publisher's clearinghouse model, an unexpected historical parallel. Okay, so the platform defense is toast, and liability is popping up everywhere. How do we navigate this mess? Well, we actually have to look in the rearview mirror to a surprisingly brilliant model from 1953. Yes, 1953. We're talking about the original Publisher's Clearinghouse. Founded by Harold Mertz, they tackled a massive transaction cost problem by bundling competing magazine subscriptions into one direct mail package. Their trick? The infamous sweepstakes loophole. They used a no purchase necessary lure, you may already be a winner, just to capture attention. But the real genius was how they completely decoupled that speculative, flashy gambling aspect from their rock-solid core product, which was high-margin, recurring subscriptions. Which brings us to Section 4, the casino VC fails, the macroeconomic shift. You're probably wondering, how on earth does a 1950s direct mail hustle connect to modern tech? Well, it perfectly illustrates why our current venture capital model is completely broken and desperately means that exact same kind of decoupling. We're looking at a huge split in how innovation gets funded today. On one side, you've got liquidator VC. This is your classic casino vibe, speculative hype bets, aiming for rapid, short-term extraction. Basically, hit and run. But on the flip side, we have legitimacy VC. These folks completely abandon the casino. They treat it like cultivating a vineyard. It's all about building 10-year infrastructure and fostering genuine partnership. In fact, the sources use this incredibly brutal analogy for the old liquidator VC model. They don't really care if the horse is killed, as long as there is one winning. Wow, right? I mean, that perfectly captures the collateral damage of the casino system. It treats brilliant founders and their startups like disposable lottery tickets. It's just a machine that burns out talent and, frankly, wastes real technological innovation. Moving on to Section 5, the Sovereign Publisher Pivot, building the modern clearinghouse. So, to survive in this wild new landscape where platforms are now legally publishers, venture capital has got to pivot away from the casino floor. It needs to become a modern sovereign publisher. And here is the playbook for how this builds a totally new collaborative ecosystem. Just like that old 1950s sweepstakes lure, the sovereign VC uses publishing as the hook. Step 1, the lure. They publish high-fidelity white papers in theoretical math to create a vision that draws founders in to build toward their coordinates. Step 2, the core. They capture the actual value, which takes the form of bit-perfect developer ledgers using crypto protocols like ERC 7827 to firmly map digital ownership. That's the modern equivalent of the magazine subscription. And step 3, validation. The VC steps in as a clinical auditor, verifying what the sources call the record of sweat, the undeniable cryptographic proof of a creator's hard work. And finally, Section 6, securing creator sovereignty, the law of the vineyard. But here's the million-dollar question. How do we actually stop massive corporations from just swooping in and using efficient infringement to scrape and steal the creator's work? The answer is buried in a massive real-world update to commercial law known as UCC Article 12. This introduces a whole new category of property, controllable electronic records, or CERs. Think of it as a flawless legal wrapper around a digital asset. It firmly establishes that legal property rights belong to whoever has the technological control to enjoy the benefits, exclude others from it, and transfer that asset. It literally takes the old-school physical concept of possession and maps it perfectly onto digital cryptography. Under the old rules, you'd file a traditional UCC1 financing statement, cross your fingers, and hope for the best. But in this new world of bearer-like digital assets, paperwork isn't going to cut it. Control beats filing. Priority and ownership aren't based on some flimsy, easily exploitable abstract license anymore. They are based on protocol-enforced, undeniable mathematical control. This is a game changer because it gives creators absolute, unshakable sovereignty over their work. It finally aligns our legal priorities with actual technological risk. All right, we've covered a tremendous amount of ground today, from the sudden death of the neutral platform through the legal reality of AI publishers, all the way to the mathematical frameworks that actually protect creators. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. As this entire landscape of tech architecture and legal liability fundamentally shifts beneath our feet, which future are you going to choose to fund and build? Will you invest your intent into the fast, extractive, disposable casino, or are you going to build the sustainable, mathematically sound, compounding vineyard? The future of human authorship really does depend on your answer. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and remember to keep questioning the systems that run our world.